Women have been conditioned by society to be, act, and think a certain way. Here at Girls IRL, we encourage women to challenge societal norms and embrace their femininity. With that being said, let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Real Life podcast. I'm your host, Mariah Clayton, and as you can see, the office is pretty much empty. Justin just took down the TV yesterday and patched up the holes from where the mount was, and obviously the TV is right there. If anybody, and there's also a box right here if you guys can see that in the frame, which I think you can. But I was gonna say, if anybody wants this guitar and aux, we're trying to get rid of it. We're trying to get rid of so much stuff. We have been packing up everything. We close on our new house literally on Friday. So by the time you guys are hearing this, we closed last Friday. Today is Wednesday that I'm recording this. We're getting the U-Haul today, so we're gonna be loading up the truck with the couch and like all the big furniture and all the stuff that we already have packed in boxes. I'm currently trying to pack up the kitchen, and it's just been literal chaos over here. And I thought to myself, literally as I was cleaning out the spice cabinet, I was like, I need to record Monday's podcast episode because I genuinely don't know if I'm gonna have time to record tomorrow, and like definitely not Friday because we close, and then Saturday is Ace's party, and then Sunday we're going to be trying to get everything like moved into the house. So if I don't record a podcast episode like today, or if I didn't record it yesterday, then it's not going to get done. So in the midst of the chaos, I did think about you guys and was like, I got to talk to my girls, even if it's just for a second. I really don't know how long I'm going to be here today. Maybe I'm thinking like 20, 30-ish minutes. I'm not really sure yet, but I just had to come and talk to my girls. And I also don't know if you guys can tell, but I am sick right now. I'm very nasally. I hear it in my voice. Ace has been fighting an ear infection for the past week and a half, and obviously he got me sick in the process. So it's just something that I'm gonna have to get used to, especially with him now being in school, him just being sick for the first couple of months. That's what everybody keeps telling me, like he's gonna be sick what feels like for 3 months straight, and then his immune system is just gonna like regulate and he'll be fine. So we're just trying to push through the trenches. We're also in the process of trying to get him off of the bottle and switch him from formula to whole milk. So it's been a lot of changes happening around here today, and that is exactly why I wanted to do this podcast episode and talk about change, how to adapt to change, how to basically like embrace change instead of resisting it, because right now I feel like I'm going through so many pivotal life changes, and there's so much change happening around me, and then not even just in my life, but like the seasons are about to change. We're about to go into spring, and I just feel like there's so much going on right now, and I really just wanted to reel it in, kind of embrace the season that I'm in instead of allowing myself to go crazy, and talk with you guys about change. So like I said, I don't know how long I'm going to be here today, but hopefully I can give y'all a word to get through the week, and then next week we will be hopefully back to regularly scheduled programming. Next week is also kind of crazy as well because Justin is leaving to go on a work trip. So in the midst of all of our moving chaos, he's literally leaving for like 3 days next week. Well, technically this week. He literally left today, if you guys are listening to this on a Monday. And I actually wanted this week's episode to be kind of just like our 1 year of parenting episode, like things that we've learned from parenting and all that kind of stuff, our journey with parenting, just because Ace's birthday was this past weekend. But we're gonna save that for, if not next Monday, probably the Monday after next, so that Justin can get back into town and like accumulate to his work life again. But yeah, that's gonna be coming up soon. But I'm gonna go ahead and just like stop rambling at this point because like I said, I've got to go pack. I have a friend coming over in a few minutes to like come and help me pack. So we're going to get this quick word in and then I'm gonna head out. So I feel like everybody can agree that like change is always happening. Like I think that we just need to be accustomed to things changing and happening around us, because that is the one constant in life, is that things are going to change. Nothing is ever going to stay the same, at least not forever. It might stay the same for a long period of time. You might have developed like a comfort zone, but in some way, shape, or form, your life is going to change. Sometimes it can happen like on a whim and kind of like unexpectedly. Sometimes you can plan for the change to happen, but needless to say, there are always going to be changes that are coming, whether we prepare for them or not. And I feel like over the past, I would say 2 to 2.5 years, I have undergone so much change in my life, and it all started really when I turned 25. Like, I'm just gonna jump out and say it. Like, when I turned 25, y'all, it was like my whole world just kind of turned upside down in every way imaginable. But during the course of that time, from me being 25 to now being 27, almost 28, I struggled with a friend committing suicide. I broke up with my boyfriend at the time, and we were together for 7 years. I ended up meeting Justin. I ended up getting pregnant. I ended up having a kid. I ended up moving in with a man, and now we're buying a house. And there's just been so many life changes in my life that have happened in the past 2 years, like I said. And so I feel like I've had to adjust a lot, and more quickly, honestly, than I think the average person, just because those things in my life kind of happened back to back to back to back, and some of them even happening like simultaneously. So it was a lot for me to adjust to all of this change that was going on in my life, because I wasn't expecting it, right? Like, the only thing, honestly, that I really expected and planned for was the breakup with my ex at the time, because I knew that that was kind of like a long time coming, and I was ready to let that relationship go and hopefully blossom and, do things on my own, be an independent woman. Like, that is what I was planning for. And if you guys have listened to podcast episodes before this one, then I've talked about this a lot, where I ended that relationship and I was so looking forward to going on just this like independent journey and truly finding myself. And then I met Justin out of the blue, and it was just very unexpected the way that happened. And us getting in a relationship, it wasn't anything that I was planning. It just kind of organically happened, which of course resulted in us being pregnant. And yeah, that was probably one of the biggest changes that I think that I had to adjust to, was being pregnant, because I feel like I had this vision for my life and a baby was not a part of that vision. And I was so resistant to that change of like bringing a baby into this world that I rejected it so much. And like, I didn't want anything to do with my pregnancy. I was depressed. I could not think of like how my life was going to go on if I were to bring a baby into this world. Then fast forward to me giving birth to Ace and having to deal with postpartum and pumping and seeing my body physically change and adjusting to new life with like this new human who literally cannot do anything for himself and is relying on me for everything. It was a lot, and it caused me a lot of stress. It caused me a lot of anxiety. Some of it even caused me to lose myself a little bit. And I think that was the hardest part throughout this whole journey, was like I was trying to fight to find pieces of myself, like to hold on to these old versions of me that I was not giving in to the new. I was not allowing myself to change or to transform, because I was so connected to my past, and I was so excited about what could have been and dreamed about what should have been, instead of accepting my reality in the way that it was. And so I was very, very, very resistant to the change. And if I could go back and tell myself one thing during that journey, would just be to lean into the change. Like, life happens, things happen, and things aren't always going to go the way that you plan. But just because things don't go the way that you plan doesn't mean that your life is going to be any less beautiful. I still deserve to be happy. I'm still allowed to choose to live a full and happy life. But that's the decision that you have to make. Like, you have to choose to lean into the change and choose to still see the positive and the good in everything, even though your world as you knew it is literally no longer. And I don't want to just talk about change in a sense of like bad things happening or unexpected things happening, because change can be a good thing as well. Change can be happy and inviting and optimistic, and like, especially if it's something that you're planning for and something that is exciting, like a new job, or maybe you wanted to have a baby, or maybe like me and Justin, like we're getting a new house. Like, all of these things are very exciting, but I think it's through the lens that you look at it, and that all of those things that I was looking through the lens of as my life. Did that just make any sense? All of the things that I was looking at that were happening in my life was through a lens of negativity and something that I was just kind of like, nope, I don't want this. This is not the way I pictured my life. If it's not the way I pictured it, then I can't be happy and I can't, smile and enjoy the things. And it was honestly just so draining, and I had to just decide, you know what, this is my life now. Like, this is what it is. I'm with an amazing man. I'm living with a man, and we barely know each other, but like we love each other and we're gonna figure it out. Oh, I got pregnant. Okay, now I have to decide to like embrace and love this baby, and now Ace is literally the best thing that's ever happened in my life. So I think when it comes to change, like, you really have to choose to just love it and embrace it and take things as they come. Now, granted, I do think that it's okay to mourn past versions of yourself and to kind of like yearn for things that you might have missed out on, or, miss old things from your old life. But it should only be for like a certain period of time, right? Like, it should not be something that you're just constantly going back to, like, oh, the good old days. I wish that I could have done this and I wish that it would have gone this way, because that's not going to help you. This is your reality now. And it doesn't matter how much you wish and think and dream about your life before, you're not in that same situation. So now you have to look forward and just be like, this is what it is now. Like, these are my options at this point, instead of trying to look back and think about like what you missed out on or what you're missing out on. And I think we feel like being in denial of change is easier than just accepting it. But after going through all of these different changes in my life, I realized like it would have just been so much easier had I just accepted it. I would have had a much better mental had I just accepted it. I would have had a more optimistic outlook on life had I just accepted that things were changing, instead of being in denial that things were changing, instead of being angry that things were changing, instead of being sad that things were changing. Like, a lot of times just accepting your fate is more easily done than denying it and trying to change the change that's happening, if that makes sense, or trying to stop the change that's happening, I should say. And I know that that's easier said than done, especially if you've been in a comfort zone or like in this space for a lot of your life. It can be scary to kind of step out and see what else is out there, honestly, because we're in our comfort zone. Like, this is where we're comfortable. This is where things make sense. This is where, you found happiness for so long. So why would you even want to think that there's more out there? But we need change. Like, we need change in order to grow and to develop as individuals. Change is how we learn. Change is how we learn how to adapt and learn how to pivot and learn how to accept things as they are. Change builds character. Change just makes you become like these new versions of yourself, and kind of showcases you things about you that you wouldn't have known before had you stayed inside of that comfort zone. And I know I'm talking a lot about change in a sense of like being pregnant, having a baby, and like new stuff like coming into your life, but change is also losing things, whether it's you lost a relationship, whether you lost a loved one, whether you got fired from your job. Like, change can also come from a place of loss and not just from a place of gain. And I definitely feel like those are the harder moments to grapple with when it comes to change, because those are things that you didn't choose. Like, I feel like a lot of times when we think of positive changes, those are things that like you're actively thinking about doing anyways, and you're making them happen. But when we talk about change from maybe like a pain aspect or like a losing aspect, it's harder to accept that because you feel like you didn't have any control over that moment. And a lot of times I feel like that's where change kind of messes with people, and people don't want to accept the fact that that change is happening because it's hurtful and it's painful, and a lot of times there's literally nothing that you can do about it but to accept it, and accepting it is literally the last thing that you feel like you want to do. So it's almost like when you're going through change from that point of loss and hurt, you have to go through the stages of grief. And I don't even know what the stages of grief are on the top of my head, like being sad, angry, What are the stages of change, y'all? I don't even know. But the last one is acceptance. I do know that. The last stage of grief is acceptance. And I feel like, when change comes from that, then yeah, you do have to go through those stages, and it is a process, and sometimes it takes longer than others. But in the end, ultimately, like, the goal is to embrace the change and move forward. And so that's really kind of what I want to focus today on. And I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to cope with big changes in your life and coming out on the other side of that. But that's always the end goal with change, is to learn how to embrace it, to learn how to live with it, and to learn how to now navigate your new life. And sometimes figuring that out can be difficult too. I mean, when I moved in with Justin, I had never lived with a man before, and we had to learn how to navigate, like, us now living together. Like, whose responsibility is it going to be to do X, Y, and Z? How are we going to split up the bills? What are we, like, there were so many conversations that you have to learn how to navigate this new space that you're in. And I'll probably get Justin on the podcast too to kind of talk about what it was like moving in together for the first time and how we've, like, adjusted and stuff like that. But that's what it was. It was an adjustment. Again, like with having Ace, I had to learn, like, what his cries meant. I had to learn how to soothe him. I had to learn how to make sure that he felt safe and loved, and, like, figure out his schedule and his routine. And a lot of it is just adapting to your new life and learning how to navigate it in the best way possible so you get the best outcome out of this new life change that you are experiencing. So it can be a lot, and it is pretty easier said than done, I guess is what I'll say. It's definitely easier said than done, but it's not impossible. And I've done it many, many, many times over in my life. And if you are someone that is struggling with change, I really hope that these tips I'm going to give you kind of help you cope with that and learn how to embrace it, or maybe even just be better prepared for it if something sudden does happen, or if you are actively planning to change something in your life. So anyways, the first tip that I have for coping with big changes in your life is going to be acknowledge that things are changing. And again, this can be really difficult because a lot of times we try and be like, no, everything's fine, everything's good. And we just try and put on, like, this mask of a version of ourselves that doesn't want to accept that anything is changing, but we know that everything is changing. So the first step obviously is to acknowledge that things are changing. Like, you don't want to be in denial that your life is about to change, because the longer that you're in denial of it, the longer it's going to take for you to adjust to it. So it's okay to just, like, have a moment to yourself and just be like, gather your thoughts. Tell yourself that things are changing, but it's okay. Things are changing, but this and this and this is happening. Like, really focusing on the positive parts of change instead of leaning into the stressfulness of the change. The second tip for coping with change is going to be to realize that even good change can cause stress. And baby, I'm a testament to that right now, because us moving into this house, like, yeah, we're excited. We love the house. We can't wait to be in it. But this packing process is stressful, and trying to make sure that you have everything accounted for and trying to put everything into boxes and putting it into the U-Haul, and then also with just, like, everything else going on right now with Ace's birthday and everything, like, this could not have been a more stressful time for this to happen. So even though it is exciting, there are still these very stressful aspects of it, even though it is a good change that we're about to experience. But I think you have to give yourself permission to feel those feelings and to know that, like, it's okay to be stressed out about good things happening. It doesn't mean that you're not grateful. It doesn't mean that you're not excited. It just means that, like, these two feelings are coexisting at the same time. I am excited, but I'm also very, very stressful, and there's a lot that needs to get done, and, like, I have to check this off and this off and this off, and, like, those two things can live with each other. But stress is literally, like, your body's reaction to change. Like, it is our first response. Like, when the minute that we know things are about to change, you just get this feeling in your body and thinking of, like, everything that needs to get done, and, like, how is it going to get done, and, like, what are we going to do? And it's just like, all this feeling of stressfulness. And that was kind of like what the feeling that I felt when Justin told us that we were officially under contract, and, like, told me the day that we were closing and everything. And my chest just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I'm so excited, but part of me is like, okay, I love this house. Like, I'm sad to leave this house. And then another part of me is like, oh, now we have to pack everything up. And then another part of me is just like, are we going to get it done in time? Like, stress is just our body's natural response to change, and it's okay to feel those feelings, and you need to know that it's normal to feel those feelings. The third tip for coping with change is to try and keep up your regular schedule as much as possible. And my morning routine has definitely been something that has kind of helped me cope with this change, because I feel like my morning routine has kind of just set the tone for the day and allows me to keep some sense of normalcy, like waking up early and reading my Bible and journaling and getting my morning chores done before Ace wakes up, and then getting a good workout in whenever Justin takes him to school. Like, it's just allowed me to set like a solid foundation for the rest of my day, and gives me that sense of normalcy and peace when the rest of my day is filled with chaos and stress. My morning routine is really kind of like my anchor in the world of chaos, and just kind of reminds me that, like, there are, even though a lot is changing, there are some things that still are the same at the moment. And it's kind of refreshing and kind of gives me a moment to just gather myself before I jump into the world of what is packing up a house. The next way for how to cope with change is to seek support. Okay, so this is like having your tribe around you. Don't try and do everything yourself, especially like if you're moving, if you are dealing with the loss of a loved one, something of that nature. Like, you want to have your tribe around you so that they can support you and help guide you through this change. Nobody gets through life alone, and it's okay to ask for help. Like, you don't have to feel prideful about that. You don't have to feel like you're being a burden to someone. People want to help in ways that they can, and you have to allow them the invitation to do that. So if you're feeling down about something that's happening in your life that's changing, call up a friend. If you need help packing, call up a friend. Like, my girl is coming over here in literally a few minutes to come and help me pack, because I was like, I need some help. And it's also nice because we're literally neighbors, so it's so cute. Okay, so we all, I don't even know why I'm telling this story, but we all were just walking in the neighborhood one day, and they have a son that's a little bit older than Ace, like a month and a half older than Ace, and we were all just like, let's be friends, and it literally happened. So it's so nice because she literally just gets to walk right down to the house and like help us pack. But anyway, needless to say, you need to find your tribe. You need to find people that are going to help you and support you, whether it be through times of like pain and grief and sorrow from loss or something bad happening, or something exciting happening. Like, maybe you just had a baby and like you need somebody to come and watch your child, to come and take a shower. I used to ask my mama to do that all the time, and she was driving from 45 minutes away, and she was more than happy to do it, to know that like I was getting time to myself. So don't be afraid to ask for help, whether you're in times of hurt or you're in times of like good positive things happening and you just need a break, or you just need some help with something, you just need time to reset. Like, it's okay to call in your tribe and get them to come to your aid. All right, the next step on how you're going to cope with change is you are going to get proactive. Okay, this means that you are going to start doing things in preparation for the change that is happening or about to happen or has unexpectedly happened. Now, when things kind of unexpectedly happen, it's kind of hard to be proactive, but there are still things that you can do in order to figure out how to move forward and be proactive in that way. So maybe you weren't able to be proactive in preventing the change, but you can be proactive in how you're now going to navigate the change, if that makes sense. But if you're, doing something like us where we're moving, you can definitely be proactive. And honestly, we have not been proactive because we're literally waiting until the last second to pack up this house. But you could have packed up the house like a few days ago or even a week ago. I know for a lot of new moms who are having, who are going to be having babies soon, like obviously we do nesting, we prepare the nursery and make sure we have like all of our pump parts and bottles and wipes and everything like just laid out and organized already for the baby to come. Like, whatever that looks like for you, you need to be proactive and not be reactive if you can help it. All right, we have two more that I'm going to go through here and then I'm going to peace out and leave y'all. But the next way to cope with change is to vent. Okay, like I said, change can be a very stressful time, and a lot of times I feel like we hold things in, but it's good to get them out. Like, change comes with a lot of frustrations, like a lot of frustrations. Okay, let me just give y'all an example, because I literally was venting to Justin today. Oh, not really venting, I was kind of like, I guess it was venting in a way, but he was telling me that I needed to like pack up some more stuff. And I was like, well, it feels like you're trying to put the brunt of the packing onto me. Like, I don't want to just be the only one packing stuff up. And that's just how I felt in the moment. Like, it's not true at all, but that's literally just how I felt in the moment when he told me that, because I had literally just packed up like all of our bathroom stuff and everything else. And then the next morning he was like, what else are you going to do? And I'm like, well, I done did all of this. So I was kind of venting to him this morning that I was like, I feel like you're trying to put the brunt of the packing onto me. And like, I just don't appreciate that. And he's like, Mariah, we literally packed up the office together. We did Ace's room together. We did the attic together. Like, the only thing you've done by yourself are these two things. And I was like, okay, you know what? You right. So I'm gonna just take my L and I'm gonna get to packing some more stuff. And also I'm home and everything too, and he's at work. So obviously it's a lot easier and more efficient for me if I just pack it. But in that moment, I was just kind of like, hold on now, we're supposed to be doing this together. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that like tensions are high, emotions are high when things are changing, and sometimes like your perspective can get skewed a little bit. So it's okay to vent, it's okay to get out those frustrations and kind of like anything that you're feeling and you don't want to hold in, but you gotta like let it out and then get over it and get back to business, because there's no point in harping on it, honestly. All right, and then the last tip that I'm gonna give you guys on how to cope with change is to give yourself a break, and like maybe even go and do some self-care or something. Just take care of yourself, your body, your mental, your emotions. Like, it's all just a lot, okay? Dealing with change can just be very overwhelming, and a lot of times you can just kind of get lost in the sauce. So give yourself a break, give yourself the time and the ability to adjust. A lot of times adjustments happen in our mental first. So being able to just kind of take a break, step away from whatever is happening, and like center yourself, pray if you need to, gather your thoughts and make sure your mental is good, then everything else will like work out for you, because the true battle with change is up here in your mind. And if you can overcome that, if you can figure out a way to like accept change here, then physically everything else will just be that much more easy to do. I know we feel like a lot of times in today's society, hustle culture is very much praised and prioritized, especially when it comes to maybe like getting a new job and moving into a new house and like having a new baby and trying to get back to working out and like all this other kind of stuff, right? But it's okay to just sit in the moment and like be grateful for the change and the good things that are happening in your life. Or even if something bad has happened, it's okay to just sit in the moment and like feel your feelings and give yourself a break from the chaos and the grief and the loneliness and all that stuff, right? Like, it's okay to just sit in those moments and think about what has just happened in your life, because it's a major thing. I don't want you guys to feel like you have to live up to people's expectations when you're dealing with change, or like you have to deal with it in a certain way. Like, you're allowed to just feel what you feel and move on from there. Whatever the change is in your life, good or bad, you have the ability to just give yourself a break from it all and just be like, okay, like change is happening, but I'm good. I'm here. Like, I'm not really doing much right now, but I'm allowing myself to rest so that I can do more later, right? Like, you can give that to yourself. That is a gift to yourself, is to just take a break from the chaos of it all. But yeah, I think that's all that I have to say. I did not plan out this episode at all. Usually when I do episodes like this, I kind of like to have an outline and I kind of like to have, set things that I'm going to say. But today I was literally just like on the mic, like, gotta get something out for my girls. So I don't even know if I made a lick of sense. I feel like there was more that I wanted to say, but words are just not coming to me right now. So I'm sorry if this felt kind of like a thrown together type of episode, but I did not want to miss a week just because of the chaos going around in my life. And this honestly was my time of giving myself a break from packing up the kitchen. So I was happy that I got to talk to y'all. I got to process some of my feelings, and honestly, some of this was like stuff that I needed to hear as well. So if you are someone that is going through a change, or has just gone through a change, or maybe is about to go through a change, I hope this episode was helpful in teaching you how to embrace the change instead of resisting it. And I hope that whatever changes lie ahead for you in your life are good things and that you're ready to receive them, and that they're exciting things. But if they're not, I pray that God gives you the strength to get through it, to learn how to navigate whatever that is, and to give you ways to come out on the other side of it. So I'm going to go now. I love you guys so, so much. Thank you for listening. And what else do I say? Have a great Monday, a great week, and I will talk to you in my next episode from my new house. Bye.